To call this meeting to order. It's the regular meeting of the City Council of the City of Cottonwood, Arizona, held on April 17th, 2012 at 6 p.m. at the Cottonwood City Council Chambers. City Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilmember Dowling?
Here.
Councilmember Alinsky?
Here.
Councilmember Howdy?
Here.
Councilmember Pratt?
Here.
Councilmember Norman?
Here.
Vice Mayor Piper?
Here.
Mayor Jones?
Here. Thank you. The next item is the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag, and this evening we have with us Sari McQuality. If you would come up, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The next item is a brief summary of current events by the Mayor, City Council, and/or City Manager. The public body does not propose, discuss, or deliberate, or take legal action on any matter brought up during this summary unless the specific matter is properly noticed for legal action. Item number... Whoops, excuse me. I'm going to move right on to the next item, huh? Mr. Bartosh, do you have a report?
Yes, I do. Madam Mayor, council members, just a reminder that the Mickelson Run is this weekend, and we have added a marathon for any of you who are interested in running that. But that'll be taking place early Saturday morning and kind of progress throughout the day. Also at 10 o'clock at Renegades, the Adopt for Life Center, formerly known as the Humane Society, is doing a motorcycle ride called Cruisin' for Critters to support their efforts up at the shelter. And on April 28th, which is a Saturday, is Sizzling Salsa here in Old Town. And then you may want to talk about this, Mayor. There's a water forum next week at, is it Wednesday night or Tuesday night?
Oh, we've changed that to May 10th.
Oh, okay.
We just did that yesterday because I may be going to Sierra Vista to see my mom.
Oh, okay. So. And then last but not least, you have before you our new water conservation cards, and we'll be passing these out at probably every one of our city offices, but definitely utilities, City Hall, and the Recreation Center, is to give people on tips on how to save water from anything from appliances and fixtures to planting tips to plants and shrubs that are low water use, grasses, the whole thing. So this is really a great addition to our conservation program for our water resources.
Right, and the council and the mayor and council will be sponsoring a special community event on the evening of May 10th, Thursday. And Tom Whitmer will be coming to speak. That was going to be the 24th, but got changed. Okay. And that's when we're going to present the conservation cards to the public officially.
Great.
So hopefully council and public can all attend that.
Okay. That's it, Madam Mayor.
Okay, council? Vice Mayor?
I love these pictures, and I just want everyone to know that Dan Luter is not posing. He actually worked. He helped unload our pickup truck.
He unloaded the Vice Mayor's truck.
Yeah. So he's not just posing for these pictures.
Yes, Mr. Luter.
Wondering about the recliner I was holding my arms.
Could you please come up to the lectern? I didn't want to say this, but if he's going to say it, I'll let him.
If anyone notices the picture of me holding a recliner in my arm, that is a vice mayor-sized recliner. But it wasn't in quite good enough shape to bring to you personally.
You mean my feet would have reached the floor when I sat on it? Okay.
Yeah, he just, I can attest, here he is with that chair. He's going, look, a vice mayor chair.
Yes. I could have reupholstered it, I can do that stuff.
Councilmember Dowling?
I did attend the cleanup with the mayor that morning, but I'll let you elaborate on that. But I also attended the Saturday afternoon, the MS bike ride. It got a little delayed, and the portion that I was going to actually speak there, my wife and I were going to go because they wanted to put a face on MS, and my wife has MS, but I guess it got delayed. So our speaking engagement got canceled, which is fine because my wife wasn't real excited about it. But I did talk to the folks that were running it, and they said they're definitely coming back next year, and they really appreciated the valley and all the help they got, and they were really looking forward to doing it again in maybe a little nicer weather.
I know, they experienced a little bit of sunshine, hail, snow, rain. And did we hear how many bicyclists? Was it 800?
I don't think, they may have had that many sign up, but I'm not sure they had that many ride, especially on Saturday.
Yeah, I was actually there to, welcome everyone at about 6:15 that morning, and it was cold. But there were a lot of bicyclists. They were like, I would say, 15. Oh, we have them right here, Dr. Bob. Dr. Bob, do you have the information? No. Okay. Dr. Bob Richards. But I would say they were 15 and they started at where the gate is for the fair, and they went way back. So there were a lot of bicyclists there, I thought.
The newspaper said 500.
Yeah,
okay.
That's the number I heard.
500?
500.
That's
All
pretty
right.
good for bad weather.
That's pretty good for that kind of weather. Yeah, they were coming in that morning at 6 in cars and getting their bikes out of their cars, and some had spent the night in tents, and it was quite a tent city there. It was very elaborate, all the different tents they had for different functions. So, yes, Mr. Elinsky.
I wanted to report to the council and the public, too, that the Historic Preservation Commission is working on a survey for Old Town. We want to find out how many properties now qualify as historic properties, and we hope to bring to the council a landmarking ordinance so we can get going, so we can start landmarking some of the more unique properties that we have.
Thank you. Thank you for that update and report. Appreciate it. Good job. Any other council members? Okay. On April 6th on Inside Cottonwood, Cable 1 TV, Channel 2, I interviewed State Land Commissioner Maria Beyer, and we discussed the 10 square miles of state trust lands contiguous to Cottonwood. And that interview can be watched on verdivalleytv.com or Channel 2. I also interviewed Pam Miller for the Primetime Fair. The Primetime Fair will be held 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at Tavasi School on May 12th. And you can also see that interview on verdivalleytv.com. And the Council Senior Commission is going to be having a large role in that. April 11th, I attended another O'Connor House meeting in Creating O'Connor House. Justice O'Connor, and that would be Sandra Day O'Connor, hopes to recreate a place that will be a center for problem solving by bringing together groups with divergent views. Justice O'Connor says that society at all levels has a need to work together to solve the many challenges facing our state and nation. The Verde Valley Group will bring a presentation to the council at our May 1st meeting, and I won't be here May 1st, but the Vice Mayor will be handling that. Amberlyn Kleinman, a Spanish teacher at Mingus Union High School, is also the sponsor for a club called Invisible Children. And I got an email from her just a few days ago. In fact, she had emailed me some time back, and I hadn't opened the email. Unfortunately, sometimes that happens. You just get more than things slip through the cracks occasionally. But I did get back with her, and the high school club is focused on raising money to send to the organization called Invisible Children. And that's to help the people in Uganda and the Congo of Africa to combat Joseph Kony and his genocidal civil war there. This Friday, the students will be recognizing an event called Cover the Night. Members of the high school club will be placing flyers, posters, banners, and so on around town to help the community learn more about this war and help bring Coney to justice this year to end this war. More information is available at www.invisiblechildren.com, or you may contact Ms. Kleinman at the high school. Sunday, as Councilmember Dowling mentioned, Councilmember Dowling, his daughter Darian, and the city manager and I all went over to Yavapai College's auditorium. And that auditorium was full, and they had a waiting line to get into this presentation. But it was called Days of Remembrance. And if you see this picture of these two little children didn't make it through the Holocaust. And it's just enough to break your heart to think that the kind of death that they suffered. Between 1933 and 1945, 6 million Jews, 200,000 gypsies, and 200,000 mentally or physically disabled patients were murdered by Adolf Hitler and his Nazi regime. At this event, 3 survivors spoke to a full house, and it was very touching and educational. And I don't know if you want to add anything.
Well, and the theme of this year's Days of Remembrance was children of the Holocaust. So the 3 people who spoke were actually children during the Holocaust, and they each, gave their story. I think one was in Germany, one was in Poland, and one was in Czechoslovakia.
Yugoslavia?
Yugoslavia.
Yes.
And so it was very interesting and real heart-rendering to go to it. And they get a lot of high school students to attend this event, so it's a real education for our high school students around the county as well. But it was packed. They have great attendance for that particular event.
Like the city manager said, it was very touching. And one thing that I took away from it was that all 3 of them said, a lot of people will talk about Hitler and the German people, but they said that there were so many German people that helped them, and that, there were a lot of good people in Germany at the time, and that's something that I took home with me.
I think the other thing that's amazing is I've talked to Holocaust survivors, is how much they appreciate the United States of America and really understand how good we have it here in this country. And boy, they really talk up how great the United States
They did. I mean, it was like they came on the ship and they talked about what was the first time that you thought that you were going to make it through this, and one of them was getting on the ship, and he thought then he was going to survive, and they were so, as you said, happy and delighted. Did you have anything else you wanted to add? That?
Well, yeah, I think obviously one of them wanted to kiss the ground when he got here, and it was really inspirational just to see what they've gone through and what successes they've made of their lives, considering the hardships they passed through as children. And I think the other one its key is a lot of it was that a lot of it happened, and it happened in such a way as nobody really said anything. And so, a lot of them were I got the point that, if people need to actually see if that's going to keep that from happening again, people need to pay attention and speak about it when they see it like that. So, just to not let little things slide because they become big things. So.
Thank you. Thank you very much for sharing. On Monday, I met with Interim Parks Director Bill Feldmeyer, who thanked the City of Cottonwood again for the water and wastewater testing that we do for Dead Horse Ranch State Park. And he really wanted me to express to the council how much he appreciates, and to staff, of course, that partnership between Dead Horse and the city. On Saturday, we had the For Our City Cottonwood Care, Inc., where local churches and nonprofits, community volunteers, the Cottonwood Oak Creek School District, and many others held a Cottonwood Verde Village citywide cleanup. And I'm guessing that about 125 people showed up to help in that really bad weather. And Councilmember Dowling and I were cleaning up Graham Street when it started hailing on us.
Better than rain, it wasn't that.
But I think everybody got a little bit of rain, a little bit of hail, and some snow too, and a little bit of sunshine. As you can see, some of these photos I took, and also another person took some of these, but as I believe that Mr. Luter and the city manager said that we filled up 15 dumpsters. And I want to thank the council for donating $5,000. I don't know if that was enough, but we'll work with the city manager if we need some more. That load right there came out of Old Town. And our court clerk, Anna, help me? Curtin, thank you. Anna Curtin and her husband Ryan and another friend cleaned this stuff up in Old Town. As they were putting that stuff into the bucket, it was some nasty stuff. She needs a medal. And I'm sure the city manager is happy to see some of that come out of Old Town too. There were some things there that they can burn. There's that stuff that was like, ugh, I'm glad that's not me there trying to get that in there. And there's Anna. She did such a great job. So, Judge, if you will give her our thanks, please. And there's the chair, Vice Mayor. The Vice Mayor chair.
I could have fixed that, Dan.
And there's Chris Taylor and his son, and Pastor Tim, and Pastor Tim and Brian Sapala was there. I'm losing track here now. That was our fire department that these are some workers that went out to a home. We cleaned up 10 homes with our crews, and 3 of those were in zoning violation. But that just shows some of them. Chris Taylor and Scott Taylor brought their equipment and drove all over Old Town, picking up bags and taking stuff out of these homes that needed to be hauled to the dump. There's the signs our staff made. And there was a house that they cleaned up after they got done. It looked a lot better. And here's some young ladies just picking up trash along the side of the road. The vice mayor was saying that she saw that people all over town. There's Councilmember Dowling and and I got the names of all of our explorers somewhere from Cameron. And I'm not sure if I even brought that, so I apologize. There was a gentleman mowing a yard. Paul Green spent his whole time marking off plants. There were some people enjoying some food, but I have to talk about Paul Green and what happened. There's 2 of our explorers there. But Pastor Tim, there's Scott with his truck and his family. But Pastor Tim went to Home Depot. Oh, that's our Chapter 5 guys. And they went out and helped in the morning, helped at the collection site. And there's Billy Tenen, who is one of our cops who volunteers for all of these events. And I don't know his name. Andy Helm. Okay. But the plants came, and everybody knows who that is. Home Depot gave our event, Pastor Tim, 300 fruit trees. And he also gave him 2 big buckets of bulbs. And so we were passing these out and hoping to beautify the community, plant some bulbs. But that was quite a donation. That's Bobby Lopez on the right. Those are some tires we collected. Bobby Lopez was one I kept saying to, now we have to have volunteers out at the collection site because I promised our staff. And so there he is on top. He came out with another volunteer. We only had 2 volunteers in the afternoon, 4 in the morning. But fortunately, the city manager and Mr. Luter had beefed up our staff that Saturday, so they did survive. That's Bobby throwing some stuff over the side there. Howard Harkey, and just a citizen dumping his things. So I think that it was a great success, and I'll just close with saying thank you to the council. Thank you to our staff, the city manager. Thank you to our community members, our churches, our nonprofits, Cottonwood, Oak Creek School District, and everyone that I forgot to mention. Thank you all very much. It was a great success, and the city manager and I and some other citizens mentioned the same thing, that we should do it again. So we're talking about maybe in October we might look at doing it again, trying to get our city cleaned up and keep it clean. Okay. And I just had already announced that I will miss the May 1st council meeting because I'm serving as a panelist for the Arizona Water Association's 85th annual conference. And the conference motto is engaging a wider community. And I'll be speaking about how Cottonwood has been on the forefront of rural water issues and sustainability, as well as service to our customers. All right, the next item is a proclamation, Elks National Youth Week. Oh, there's two proclamations. Okay, they're listed here together. Elks National Youth Week and Bike Month. Okay. Whereas the Benevolent and Protective Order of Elks has designated the first week in May as Youth Week to honor America's junior citizens for their accomplishments and to give fitting recognition of their services to the community, state, and nation. And whereas Jerome Lodge 1361, Prescott Lodge 330, Chino Valley Lodge 2842, and Sedona Lodge number 2291 will sponsor an observance during that week in tribute to the junior citizens of the community. Whereas no event could be more deserving of our support and participation than one dedicated to these young people who represent the nation's greatest resource and who in the years ahead will assume the responsibility for the advancement of our free society. And whereas our youth need guidance, inspiration, and encourage, which we alone can give in order to help develop these qualities of character essential for future leadership to go forth and serve America. And whereas to achieve this worthy objective, we should demonstrate our partnership with youth, our understanding of their hopes and aspirations, and a sincere willingness to help prepare them in every way for the responsibilities and the opportunities of citizenship. Now, therefore, I, Diane Jones, Mayor of the City of Cottonwood, hereby proclaim the first week in May as Youth Week and urge all departments of government, civic, fraternal, and patriotic groups, and our citizens generally, to participate wholeheartedly in this observance. Okay, tonight we have with us Ruth Ann Plass, Sari McQuality, and Bill Weeks. If you would all come up here in front of the lectern, and I'll give you the proclamation. This is from the council for Sari. For Sari, for saying the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you for your dedication. So we would like to present this proclamation to you, and thank you for the work that you're doing for our youth. You want to take one for her? Absolutely. Do it again. Erica. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you.
The next proclamation And we have several members of the Cottonwood Verde Valley Cyclist Coalition with us tonight, who I'll be asking to come up in just a moment. But we're reading a proclamation for Bike to Work Week. Whereas for more than a century, the bicycle has been an important part of the lives of most Americans. And whereas today Americans are turning to the bicycle more than ever before as a means of becoming a part of the solution in our nation's quest to better our citizens' health, improve our environmental quality, and promote our energy independence, and do overwhelmingly support improving our quality of life and providing quality recreational opportunities for our families and our visitors. And whereas the League of American Bicyclists and its chapters have declared May as Bike Month since 1956. And whereas the Verde Valley Cyclist Coalition, our Valley's chapter of the League, and independent cyclists throughout Arizona are calling for greater public awareness of bicycle operation and safety in an effort to reduce accidents, injuries, and fatalities, and to increase enjoyment for all. Now therefore, I, Diane Jones, Mayor of the City of Cottonwood, Arizona, do hereby proclaim May 2012 as Bike Month, and the week of May 14th through 18th to be Bike to Work Week throughout all of Cottonwood, and urge all residents, schools, city departments, and civic groups to support bicycling, and for motorists, pedestrians, and bicyclists to work together to share our streets, roads, and trails. And witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand and caused to be affixed the seal of the City of Cottonwood, Arizona, the 17th day of April, 2012. And I'd like the bicyclists to come up behind the lectern, and Mr. Elinsky, who actually wrote for the council for the Bike to Work Week last year. And Nikki has been a big part of working with this group on city trails and right back there.
Oh, it's on video. Let's change that.
Already have a great camera person. Dr. Voucher, you take the proclamation.
Thank you very much. We haven't decided yet. Okay, so you decide.
Thank you all so much for being here tonight.
Okay, great.
You still got your helmet, Councilmember
Yep.
Rudensky? All right. He had to go buy a helmet last year to ride in the bike ride.
Bob wouldn't let me otherwise.
They wouldn't let him, but he still wore his thongs.
Flip-flops.
Thank you for clarifying.
I leave those at home.
There is a difference, excuse me.
There's a new definition of the fun.
All right. Okay, the next item number 7, is call to the public. This portion of the agenda is set aside for the public to address. Did I skip one?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
excuse me. Thank you. I already marked that off. A really important, wonderful presentation. You guys thought you were going to get out of it that easy, right? These guys never let me get by with that. I try it every once in a while. The next item is a presentation which is overview of the Water Literacy Education for Kindergarten Students program. Ms. Brightweights. Ms.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. I'm Debbie Brightweights. Thank you. Your wastewater superintendent for the city of Cottonwood. To my right is Roger Biggs, your utilities department administrative manager. To my left is Linda Heidenreich, the instructor for the water literacy program. And basically, I'm going to let Linda speak about her program, and since she is the instructor for the program.
All right, thank you. Well, I'm not used to being in front of adults. Usually it's little kids or teenagers.
No, you don't have to worry about that.
Anyway, I have been an instructor for the Yavapai College for Kids summer program since 2005. I have created field-based Verde Valley geology water classes for ages 5 through 12 with emphasis on the Verde River. In 2009, I created a class called EnviroTrek, a series of field trips concentrating on water literacy for my young students. This is when I began my collaboration with the City of Cottonwood Utilities employees, Roger and Debbie. They have been instrumental in the implementation of my vision, water literacy education, through observation of the processes of city water and wastewater. After several successful summers with our class, I decided to introduce an idea of a partnership of the City of Cottonwood Utilities with Cottonwood Oak Creek School District to educate kindergarten students about water literacy. With Roger's encouragement, I approached Mayor Jones, who was enthusiastic about the idea, and she set up a meeting with Barb, the superintendent of Cottonwood Oak Creek School District, and her curriculum advisor, Pat, and Roger and Debbie. I created and gave a presentation called Water is Life. Joe Spangler made a website from this, which is my in-class lesson plan for the kindergarten students. Prior to our field trips to the Verde River, the Cottonwood Water Well Site number 5, that's at the very top hill, and a tour of the city's wastewater treatment plant. As a result of that presentation and the positive response of Barb and Pat, our first pilot program begins April 23rd, 2012, in Kevin Dick's class, who was just here a minute ago.
He is still here.
He is still here, okay. Since this program is community-oriented, we will utilize public transport, the CATS bus, for the field trips. They are also very walking intensive. The idea was also suggested that the utilities department could supply water bottles with straps with the City of Cottonwood Utilities logo and the pamphlet, The Story of Drinking Water, as well as the cost of our public transport. These costs are funded through the Utilities Water Conservation Fund. Myself, this is my volunteer work for the community. It has been my observation that Cottonwood is a community that is preparing for the future, especially in regards to its most important resource, water. Education is vital to this process, and I believe the focus within our community should be on the youngest members, kindergarten students. Their future will be unlike the present. It is important that we, as community leaders and educators, provide them with the tools necessary for their own future relationship to water within the community.
Just a thought on mine. After working with Linda for several years on the Yavapai College for Kids classes, it's apparent that she's very enthusiastic about her vision for water literacy education through observation. Personally, I believe it's a great idea to get children aware of how both the water and the wastewater systems work, as well as spreading the message of conservation.
As you can see from Linda's
appearance here this evening. Her enthusiasm is infectious. When she's in front of a class, you can't help but get excited about what she's teaching. The kids enjoy it, and we enjoy working with her.
And I leave you with this quote from Killing the Hidden Waters by the journalist Charles Bowden. It was written in the 80s and is a prophetic vision of the future of water. Once I read the book, I was changed. The groundwater problem that nourishes so many academics, bureaucrats, and politicians is actually a groundwater reality. In arid lands, groundwater is a non-renewable resource, and hence it is an example of non-renewable resources in general. When such a resource is used by humans, it is gone, period. Hydrology, water management, and master plans cannot alter the fact. And that's why it's so important about the reclaimed water in today's world. So this quote is the one that got me started on the whole project. Our children no longer learn how to read the great book of nature from their own direct experience or how to interact creatively with the seasonal transformations of the planet. They seldom learn where their water comes from or where it goes. And we have to change that. So that was Wendell Berry, an environmental educator. So,
Any questions?
Okay, go ahead.
I just have a comment. My great-granddaughter's been going to the water festivals in October for the fourth graders since she was 3 years old. And she has learned a lot at 3 years old. Now she's 5. So it's never too early to get them started on it. 'Cause she actually corrected me not too long ago. I left the water running and did something. She went in there and turned it off, and she said, "Didn't you listen?"
That's what I mean. The children will educate their parents.
And great-grandparents, too.
Yes.
And remind us. So it's great. I like what you're doing.
Thank you very much.
I know in one of some of the information that you gave me, something that really struck home with me was that utility departments are really in a position to share and educate the public on water issues.
Exactly.
And I thought that was really important to know.
And it is happening in a lot of states, I think, today. There are websites, that sort of thing.
Debbie, how many kids do you think that have gone through your wastewater plant? Because I know that's a big thing with you. You like to have the kids in to
I'd say
learn.
the past 4 or 5 years, probably at least 100, 200. In all ages. I mean, obviously I've had smaller children, high schoolers, college kids, adults, just anybody who's interested.
And you'll also be, besides going to the well site and the wastewater plant, you'll also be taking them down the jail trail to the river.
That's number one on the list.
Yeah.
That starts, in fact, the first week of May, April 30th. And the in-class presentation is next week. So
that's all very exciting.
With all of the information.
And Kevin, did you want to share anything or say anything, add anything to this? This is the teacher.
Mayor and council, thank you. We're just excited that she brought this to our campus and our class, and we're getting all the permission forms in and everything so they can venture out and take part in this wonderful activity. So we're happy about it, and we're looking forward to seeing this be a regular thing for years to come.
Good.
If you all would come around and let Kyla take a picture of the four of you. Kevin also.
Sure. Here, you can hold the water bottle. Yes, Mr. Ritter, I see you too.
Thank you.
I also just want to share with the council and the public that Superintendent Uran was just so accommodating.
She was.
And she was, I mean, because we couldn't do this without the school. And it's such a great partnership among the city and our volunteers Linda Heidenreich doing all the work on a volunteer basis.
And these two.
And then also, she was really adamant that she wanted the children to take public transportation during this process. Well, you were. Yes. Linda was. Because it's so important, she feels, to teach the kids about public transportation and how that you should use that when you can.
They will probably walk, and Kevin knows that, probably almost 2 miles each field trip. So that's quite a long distance. That and the public transport. Mm-hmm. But I know they can do that because through Yavapai, I've been doing it with the summer program. Mm-hmm. And never have I had a kid complain about it. That's the exciting thing.
Mm-hmm. And I love it. You got the little straps. That was very important. You had to have the straps, Linda said.
Yeah, I said very important because if the water is in a backpack, they will not drink it. That's the thing. They will not. They will not stop to take that out. So this we had to have. And luckily, Roger and Debbie have been very accommodating for the needs here. And also one other item, I met with Russ at the Cat's Bus, and he said that the ideal thing to do, rather than to have the money up front, would be to tally up. The bus driver each day will tally up the students. I think the average is about 10 per day. Yes, and tally them up and then present a bill to the fund, and I think it's the conservation fund?
Mm-hmm. Our conservation money.
Covering that cost. Mm-hmm. And it's $1.25 per student. And per adult, I think I will have 1 or 2 aides with me, so that total cost then.
Well, that's very exciting, so thank you for coming and presenting.
Thank you for listening.
And thank you to the city manager and Mr. Luter for supporting this educational process, as they do in many other instances in our schools. Thank you all very much. All right, the next item is called to the public. This portion of the agenda is set aside for the public to address the council regarding an item that is not listed on the agenda for discussion. However, the council cannot engage in discussion regarding any item that is not officially listed on the agenda for discussion and/or action. Per ARS 38-431-02H, comments are limited to a 5-minute time period. And I did not receive any forms requesting to speak, but is there anyone who would like to speak tonight? If not, we'll close the floor to the public. The next item, item number 8, is approval of the minutes, the regular meetings of March 20th, 2012, and April 3rd, 2012. I read these and saw no corrections. If that is what everyone else found, I would entertain a motion.
I move to approve the minutes.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Elinsky made the motion. Councilmember Norman seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Comments regarding agenda items are limited to a 5-minute time period per speaker. Item number 9, unfinished business. There is none. Item number 10, the consent agenda. Number 1 is a new liquor license application for Oliva Diaz, owner of El Patio Bar and Grill, located at 1695 East Cottonwood Street, Suite J. Item number 2 is a special event liquor license application submitted by Stephen Gottlieb, applicant for the Fraternal Order of Eagles, number 3600, for an event scheduled for May 26, 2012, in the parking lot of Renegade Steakhouse, located at 747 South Main Street. Are there any items that the council wishes to pull for discussion? Are there any items that a member of the public wishes to pull for discussion? If not, do I hear a motion?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay. Mr. Pratt made the motion. Mr. Elinsky seconded it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 11, new business. The following items are for council discussion, consideration, and possible legal action. Item number 1 is award of contract for the city's prosecution code enforcement services. And Mr. Horton.
Madam Mayor, Council, good evening. As you all know, our previous prosecutor resigned late in February, early March, and so we had let an RFP seeking statements of qualifications and cost proposal. We were fortunate, as the last cycle we received this time, 7 excellent proposals, a lot of qualified people, and we formed a committee of 6 that included Councilmember Pratt, City Clerk, myself, the Police Chief, the Procurement Manager, and I'm always going to forget one. Committee of 6. Our choice that we're bringing to you tonight is Mr. Bob Van Wyk, and he's somebody I know. He had been a partner in the firm I was a partner in. He is an attorney and a judge of long experience and great reputation. He's been a city prosecutor, a county prosecutor, a city judge, a Superior Court judge. He's currently sitting as a pro tem Superior Court judge in Navajo County. I appeared before him in Coconino County many years ago, and I've worked with him on a couple of special projects since then. It seems like nothing routine. It's always something extraordinary and interesting. He also has served as a town attorney and town prosecutor for Cottonwood in the late 1980s and early 1990s. Some of you might remember. He's also somebody we called on to come in the interim until we had this appointment to bring to you, and he's been serving as the prosecutor and code enforcement attorney as needed for the last month or so, and we have heard nothing but wonderful reviews about how he's been working with the court and with city staff, and some of them are here and can speak to that if you'd like. And also, I guess, knowing him, I think he is especially qualified by temperament to do this job in this place for us. So with that, I welcome Bob up to the mic and have him introduce himself to you, and let you introduce yourselves to him.
Mr. Van Wyk, please come up.
Thank you, Steve. I'm Bob Van Wyk, and I don't have a lot to say. I just want to thank everybody. I really appreciate the judge, the competent clerk staff, and the competent city staff that I've worked with in code enforcement. It's really been a joy for the last month or so, and I hope that you accept the recommendation. And I'm delighted to be here and be back, really, because for me it's homecoming in many ways, because I did serve as a prosecutor and town attorney, as one of the town attorneys 15 years ago. When I saw Linda Hobson, I recognized Linda Hobson immediately from being on the town council when I was here. And my dad had the church, the Episcopal Church in Clarkdale for a number of years before he retired. My children's grandparents lived here for some time, and I'm very delighted to be back here. The job is as much as an administrative job and a management of cases job as it is a prosecutor's job. So, and at heart, I'm an administrator as well as a lawyer. So these are the kind of jobs that really are fulfilling to me. This one, a judge's job, the kind of job that I have as a judge is very much an administrative position. And I worked for the state bar for a number of years as overseeing the regulatory department, where we investigated and prosecuted misconduct by attorneys. And that was a job which is both administrative as well as prosecutorial, and that's the combo that is a real fit for me, and I hope to be here for some time. Thank you.
Thank you.
And any questions, of course.
Questions, Mr. Pratt?
I just have a comment. We received numerous letters and emails just commending you on your service, what a great job you've done. And you also have a BA in literature. And
Right.
that qualifies you for just about anything.
Or nothing. One of these.
I have a BA in literature. I teach.
Thank you.
I was just wondering, do you speak Spanish?
I do. I don't speak fluent Spanish. I speak, as those at the bar said, Bob, you speak ghetto, man. So I speak ghetto Spanish is what I speak. I learned Spanish in high school and college, and then worked in the Juvenile Detention Center in Albuquerque, Bernalillo County Juvenile Detention Center for 3 years. And there is where I picked up my accent as well as a lot of the Spanish, and I cannot get rid of that accent no matter what I do. And so people look at me like, what's this old white guy doing speaking ghetto Spanish? But yes, I do. And it's, I found it helpful, although we have a very good interpreter here. I find it helpful to be able to sort of quickly relate to some of the people who just speak Spanish or are more comfortable in Spanish.
I read that you had served both with Spanish-speaking people, so I just was curious if you did that through an interpreter, if you actually spoke the language. So thank you.
I speak the language, and sometimes I have to be very careful with an interpreter to shut up and let the interpreter do their job, and then I'm listening in English. And when I'm on the bench, frankly, what I do is I listen to the interpreter. I have to listen to the interpreter's English because that's what you're supposed to do. But I have them speak up so I can hear their tone of voice. And there's something about it. If they know that you can speak it, there's something different that happens. So it's good.
That sounds like a good quality to have. Any other questions from council members? Okay. Any comments from the... Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Any comments from the public? If not, do I hear a motion?
I move to award the prosecution/code enforcement services contract to the Van Wyck Law Firm, PLLC, and to authorize the mayor to sign the agreement and to take any additional actions required to implement the agreement.
Second.
Okay. Vice Mayor made the motion and Mr. Pratt seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries, and I guess it's a contract, so we don't have to read a resolution or anything of that type. So welcome to our team, Mr. Van Wyck, and thank you for your service. If it's a pleasure of the council, I'd like to go ahead and move item number 5 up on the agenda now, just to ensure that we can keep our fire chiefs here and not lose them to some event. Is that all right with everyone?
Makes sense to me.
Got to get them while we can get them up here. So
it's more fun when they're not here. You can talk about them more.
So Interim Chief Kirkendall and Chief Casson are here to present a proposal, I guess, for lieutenant positions.
Yes. Madam Mayor and Council, Fire Department is requesting Council authorization to reclassify 3 interim fire lieutenant positions to permanent fire lieutenant positions in salary range 48. The reason for this is when we were awarded the 2008 SAFER grant, the Staffing for Adequate Fire and Emergency Response, in which we were able to hire the 12 additional firefighters, we needed supervision because we were able to manage to staff a second fire apparatus. Doing so required supervisory positions, and at that time we were able to create the interim lieutenant positions for a number of reasons at that time. Through the time of 2.5 years, 2 of the 3 have served in those positions for 2.5 years now, and because of some situational changes, we would like to change those positions now to permanent positions rather than continue to leave those people in interim positions. They have grown in the positions and received the training and things they needed to have to do that, and no longer do we believe that we need to keep these as interim positions. And in fact, it would behoove us as a department to add some permanency to those positions for the people in them and to provide some stability in the department, especially in fact that we have an interim chief at the moment, and some other positions are going to have to be interim until that situation is comes to a conclusion at whatever time that would be. It has a minimal effect financially on the department for us to do it. In fact, to implement it immediately, we'll have less than $500 impact for the remainder of this fiscal year. The fiscal impact has already been included in the preliminary budget for the following fiscal year.
Okay, questions? Council?
I do have one question.
Mr. Elinsky?
What would the overall financial impact be then? You say some of it's already been put in the budget to be approved?
Less than $500 for this year. The annual financial impact, I don't have the exact figure, but
this is impacting us for about 6 weeks, so my guess is it's probably somewhere in the vicinity of $6,000 or $7,000.
Okay.
Over the course of annually.
Okay. Mr. Pratt?
Just going to say, it seems to me we should trust the experts. They've worked with these people, and obviously you think they're doing a good job, and you wouldn't recommend it if you didn't think they were. So
yes, absolutely.
I think
if we continue the way we are with the transitions going on, we would have 11 out of our 24 line people in interim or active positions, and we need to get.
You need more stability.
Yeah.
Right. Any comments from the public on this item? If not, do I hear a motion? Mr. Pratt?
I move to reclassify 3 interim fire lieutenant positions to permanent fire lieutenant positions in salary range 48.
Second.
Mr. Pratt made the motion. The vice mayor seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And please extend our thanks to all, you had a good crew there who cleaned up the Home Depot chamber wash along with the explorers, so they were awesome. Give them our thanks.
We will do so. Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 2 is resolution number 2638, adopting the 2011 update of the Yavapai Multi-Jurisdictional Hazard Mitigation Plan. Mr. Luder.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. 2005-2006, the first set of multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan was put together, adopted by the various entities within Yavapai County. Arizona Department of Emergency Management obtained a federal planning grant and hired J.E. Fuller Hydrology and Geomorphology to assist the county in updating the process. And we began working on this back in 2010. Had 3 series of meetings between October 2010 and January 2011. The city's representative of that was the terrorism liaison officer at that time, Ryan Gildehouse. We've updated the plan. The plan was reviewed by all the agencies. It's also been reviewed by FEMA. And the Yavapai County is asking all the participating jurisdictions to adopt this plan. By adopting this plan, Cottonwood would be eligible for FEMA grants should we have a natural disaster. Happy to answer any questions.
It's only 648 pages, at least on the computer.
I wanted to put it in council's packet, but I was overruled.
Thanks for sending it electronically. I did download it.
Yeah. And for the public, if you wanted to see this, the clerk has got a disc in her office, and there's also a link on our webpage that will take you to the entire plan if you want some interesting reading.
Great. So if the public would like to read this, they can go to www.cottonwoodaz.gov, and there should be a link there.
Yes, it's on the top left side of the page.
Top left side of the page. Any questions from the council or comments? Anybody want to rewrite this book? Mr. Pratt?
Seems to me that this is one of those classic no-brainers that we would be protecting ourselves in case we did have a disaster, and would be crazy not to do that.
Mm-hmm. Is there anyone from the public who would like to comment on this 648-page book?
We could always read it into public record.
Oh, we could read it. We would be here all night, right? And a couple of
filibuster.
Filibuster. Mr. Pratt, were you going to make a motion?
Okay. I move to approve Resolution 2638, adopting the 2011 update of the Yavapai County Multi-Jurisdictional Mitigation Plan.
Second.
Mr. Pratt made the motion. Mr. Elinsky seconded it.
Me.
Oh, you did? Okay, Mr. Dowling seconded it.
I'm working on my ventriloquism.
Okay. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you to your staff for working on that. I see Mr. Combs is here with us tonight. Sergeant? Is it Sergeant Combs? No. Officer Combs. Officer Combs. I tried to give you all, a promotion.
Mayor?
Yes.
I'm going to read the resolution.
Certainly, that would be a great idea.
Resolution number 2638, a resolution of the Mayor and City Council of the City of Cottonwood, Yavapai County, Arizona, adopting the 2011 update of the Yavapai Multi-Jurisdictional Hazard Mitigation Plan. Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Okay, the next item is establishment of a compactor station voucher program.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As you mentioned earlier, Clint Combs, who is the city's terrorism liaison officer, is in attendance tonight. Clint is also charged with supervising the code enforcement staff. And he's been dealing, since he's come on in September, he's been dealing with quite a few of the city's code enforcement issues. Has worked very closely with Nikki from the planning department on kind of streamlining the process. But one of the things Clint came to the city manager and I talked about was the fact that he knows there's a lot of residents that would like to do the right thing out there, but the disposal costs can be prohibitive. Right now, to dispose a pickup truck load of trash at our compactor station costs $28. And as they're routed through the code review process, we may be putting some people in a situation where they're facing fines that they really can't afford. They're facing a dump fee they really can't afford. And the result is some people will resort to dumping in the desert, taking it up West Mingus, doing things like that. So Clint floated the idea to us about the city issuing vouchers, the code enforcement having the ability to issue a voucher to someone, which would allow them to dump a load up at the compactor station. We feel that this would really help those who can't really afford, that want to clean up but can't really afford. And through the prosecution side of it, and we verified this today in the meeting, if we offer the financial assistance of letting them dump and they decide not to, it really makes our case in the code enforcement hearing much stronger. So what staff is requesting is that council initially authorize $500 from the council contingency fund to fund the program. Should the program be utilized and we use up to $500, at that time we come back to council and request some additional money.
I think it's a great idea. I'm happy to see that you're going in this direction, and I think it will benefit the community. So, questions or comments? Comments from the public? I love the idea. The only thing is, on the suggested motion, do we need to actually, in the motion, state that we'll take the money from the contingency funds or not?
Madam Mayor, it's not necessary, but it's certainly appropriate if you'd like to add that.
Okay. So do I hear a motion?
I move that we establish a compactor station voucher program using $500 from council contingency funds.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Elinsky made the motion. The Vice Mayor seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. And again, great idea.
Thank you.
I think Officer Combs has a good heart.
And it's promoting healthy neighborhoods also. A good thing. All right, the next item is approval of an agreement with Ventus Realty for right-of-way required for the Mingus Avenue Reconstruction project from 89A to Willard Street. And in Mr. Scott's absence tonight, Mr. Horton will present this item.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Happy to report that this is the last piece of right-of-way we need for this particular project. And I'll also report to you that this one in particular was a bit of a cautionary tale in the fact that most of them should be fairly routine, some of them are not. This one happened to involve a Cottonwood senior living facility operated by a corporation based in Texas, which leases property from a Delaware corporation who's residing in Kentucky. It took a lot of coordinating and a lot of downtime between communication to actually put this together. And we're happy to bring it to you tonight. As recently as this afternoon, we received word that there's some more documentation, not that would affect the council's action tonight, but will be required in order for us to close. Typically, we like to bring agreements to you that are completely teed up, signed by the other party, ready to go to escrow and close. We'll need some more stuff for the escrow agent as of this afternoon. With that said, this gives us that little piece of right-of-way. We hope to issue a notice to proceed on this project very soon. Hope to have this closed, and we're looking at that timing window to get the roundabout completed during the summer school recess. So we're very excited to conclude the property acquisition part of this pre-project.
So what you're kind of saying is that the motion should include the fact that you will be doing some final work.
I'm sorry, that was just by way of background. If we approve the agreement, the agreement will have conditions before it closes at the title company, and we just learned that there's a few more loose ends to tie up there. So if the council approves the agreement, we won't pay any money until closing, and that won't happen until everything's in place.
Okay. All right. Any comments from the public on this item? Any questions, comments from council? Not, do I hear a motion?
I move to approve the right-of-way purchase agreement with Ventus Realty.
Second.
Councilmember Norman made the motion. The Vice Mayor seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Authorization. Whoops.
We've already done that.
Okay, that's right. We did that. Okay, so now we're on 6, I guess. Okay, item number 6, annual review of the city magistrate pursuant to ARS 38-431-06A1. Discussion or consideration of employment, assignment, appointment, promotion, demotion, dismissal, salaries, disciplining, or resignation of a public officer, appointee, or employee of any public body, except that, with the exception of salary discussions, an officer, appointee, or employee may demand that the discussion or consideration occur at a public meeting. The council may vote to convene into executive session subject to the city magistrate's right to compel the council to discuss this matter in open meeting. And Judge Lasota, you did receive a letter giving you the option of compelling the council to hold your review in public. So which would you prefer?
Whatever the council's pleasure is. I indicated, I think I emailed you back saying it's okay to do it in private if you wish, whatever council desires.
Okay, so council, what's your pleasure?
I'm fine with doing it in public if the judge is fine with that.
Suits me.
Fine with me.
Okay. All right. So we'll just go ahead and we won't need to move into executive session then. Okay, so we'll just go ahead and start. We received a couple of different documents from you, Judge. So I guess I would go ahead and have you cover maybe some of your accomplishments.
Thank you. Mayor Jones, members of the council, it's my pleasure to be going into my 4th year as presiding magistrate for the city of Cottonwood. I'm proud of the accomplishments we've been making with the court. I think the first evaluation is there's been 3 different rounds of performance evaluations by attorneys within the past year. There was one for the full year of 2011. One was on a random date chosen in February where we had somebody come over from Prescott, Diane Burke, the volunteer clerk that helps us on occasion, and then the Judicial Review and Advisory Board. Out of those, there's 16 different areas that have been evaluated, both for integrity, communication skills, legal ability, judicial temperament, administrative skills, and sentencing. There was a total of 72 ratings on each of those 16 categories, and on 15 of the 16 categories, 70 of the responses were superior, 1 was very good, and 1 was satisfactory, for a total of 72. I think there's maybe two of the questions where somebody said they didn't have enough information on which to gauge my ability on certain things, but other than that, it was all superior, with the exception of the 1 very good and 1 satisfactory. except for the one area for being punctual, and that was 60 superiors, 1 very good, and 11 satisfactory, for a total of 72. There was numerous good comments that were set forth on the ones to the Judicial Advisory Board and the ones from February 2012. Those were in the packets that have been delivered to you. I don't think you needed me to repeat that at this time, unless anybody desires me to. The Fairness and Access study that was done, that's a National Center for State Courts study that was done. And we had Dan Burke come over and administer that, and she did that separately out of the courtroom after people were done with their proceedings, and went through that with them. The access portion, which includes things that are affected by both the judge and staff's conduct, was at a 4.6 out of 5. And I think it's important to note that the treated with courtesy and respect, but that's something I'm very proud of. With our court, we were up at 4.8 on that. So that's 4 out of every 5 people think we're at 5, and 1 out of 5 still think we're at a 4. And I don't think there was anything below 4 on that. The fairness portion, which had the 5 questions, which are mostly related to me, a couple of them had some overlap with staffs, that was all at a 4.6 on the average. Our diversion program continues to be a very successful program. It gives second chances to defendants, allows prompt resolution of cases, quicker restitution to victims, higher revenues to the city because the city gets 100% instead of having to pay 83% of a base fine to the state. So it ends up being almost double what it would be if we would just impose fines as opposed to the diversion. Additionally, when cases get resolved by the diversion programs, there's no police overtime at trials, so it saves on the police budget as well. The Citation Program has been fully implemented. That's allowed productivity gains both for our staff and the police department. Allows quicker input into the court computer system, so people, when they come to court within days of their citation, they're now able to talk to staff about their case, as opposed to having to wait for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, sometimes 4 weeks to get the handwritten complaints from the police department. It also allows for less handwriting errors because everything all has to be typed in, and also by using the person's driver's license. That way we make sure that it gets the person's information correctly. Our second courtroom has now been completed with the court enhancement fund money, so that's all money that comes from defendants instead of any money from the city. We now have a storage room built into that room with doors. We didn't have any storage room in the courthouse before. Additionally, that has allowed us to become a training center for continuing legal education for staff members, and that also saves the city money because instead of having to go to Prescott for staff trainings, now we can have those at ours, and we're hosting a big 3-day event next month. Our Justice Easy Track program is allowing payments to come in online from anywhere. Excuse me, I had a tooth pulled, so I'm a little bit under the weather today.
Would you like some water?
If you don't mind.
I haven't opened it yet. Oh, there you go. Mm-hmm.
We've also just implemented a language access plan to comply with federal requirements. Unfortunately, the way the feds are interpreting things nowadays, now we have to provide for interpreters in all civil cases as well and to witnesses, and so it's going to cost a little bit more money. Hopefully there won't be too much need for that, but that's something we had to comply with. That's been instituted. The Court Enhancement Fund program that was instituted by myself is saving the city a lot of money. For example, in the storage room that I just talked about, we also just had to buy some new cabinets, chairs, and bookshelves. Those were all taken out of court enhancement fee money and no cost to the city. One of our immediate goals is coming up over the next year is we're going to be going to all digital, and we're going to be able to take a whole room full of our old files, place them all digitally, be able to destroy all the paper files. That solves a little storage problem we have. And additionally, going into the future is going to allow for much better, greater productivity, and even such simple things as finding files. At least that way we can just go to the computer. You don't have to worry about finding the paper file. So it's going to add some good productivity to the court. Additionally, we've gotten the monitors that we're getting, these touchscreen monitors that we're going to be able to use for free from the Arizona Office of Courts, because we end up being the lead program that's taken the first stride from municipal courts. It's only in superior courts now, but we'll be the first city court that's going to have this program. So we've gotten them to give us those monitors for free, and they're going to come in and do the training for us as well for free. I know the City Council was a leader statewide on the bath salts issue. At about that same time, I think right before you guys passed the resolution, I started putting that into my terms of release and probation terms, that nobody's to touch bath salts, glass cleaner, or any similar product.
Good.
And I make sure that they understand what I'm talking about when I impose those terms. Anybody that doesn't understand it ends up being a little bit of an education process. And sometimes I even have parents that are defendants that get that imposed on them, and then they ask for further explanations too, so they can educate their children about some of the dangers of this. So it ends up being a learning process, and hopefully we're able to steer some extra people away from that. Over the past year, there have been no complaints to the city or any agency by defendants, attorneys, victims, witnesses, observers, parties, to the state bar, Commission on Judicial Conduct, no court staff complaints. Everything's been going, pretty well at the court, and I think from the fact that you guys don't hear the complaints, it probably speaks for itself. I would hope. Diane Burke's letter was provided to show additional observations by a professional clerk as to what my interactions are with court staff, attorneys, and defendants. I think the letter speaks for itself. Savings that we've had since I've been there. We have the pro tem cost savings by having Janie Randall as the associate magistrate and Anna Curtin as the civil hearing officer. I think you've probably seen that our budget on pro tem costs is far less than what it was in the past. Additionally, I raised the idea a couple years ago about putting caps on court-appointed attorney fees. Last year, Steve got around to finishing that off and worked out the contract with the court-appointed attorney. So that's ended up saving some money already. I asked Rudy for the numbers about what costs have been on the average for court-appointed attorneys in the past. He indicated that for fiscal year 2009 it was $4,016 a month, fiscal year 2010 it was $4,982 a month, and then in fiscal 2011 it's dropped to $2,609 a month, and fiscal 2012 to date is $2,440 a month. So there's some savings that are coming into play by having it capped at is it $450 a case? I think it's $4 or $450 a case, unless it goes to trial. But that way we can have some certainty as to what the costs are, and it keeps an attorney from spending a lot of excessive time on a case that doesn't need to get spent. The Court Enhancement Fund program that this court initiated after I came here has generated $44,000 through December of 2011 alone. That's indicated by those projects that I've already discussed with you. Additionally, there's over $30,000 that's sitting there for future projects that we have the need for it. There's some future technical things we're going to do in the courtroom over time, but this is all money that's paid for by defendants. It doesn't cost the city anything. Let's see. Just on the financials, my first full month that I was here, the income was $10,290 that went to the city. Obviously, more revenues were collected that went to the state and to reimburse jail costs and that type of thing. Then the Diversion Program, we put that into place. That was the program that I implemented at the start of 2010. So that for the calendar year 2010, revenues had gone up to $14,765 per month for what was given to the city. Calendar 2011, it went up to $16,030 per month to the city. And then in February 2012 alone, we made a big push on collections and trying to get people caught up on payments. February of 2012, $27,724.49 to the city due to the court staff's efforts and due to the diversion program. Additionally, since I've been here, we've reinstituted warrant fees that weren't being imposed before when someone fails to pay or fails to comply with court-ordered counseling, and orders to show cause for contempt have to be issued. When they're found in contempt, $100 fees are assessed, and those weren't being imposed before, even though the city ordinance requires that. I think the email from the Arizona Office of the Courts shows some good things about our court as well. That was a statistical analysis that was done by the Arizona Office of the Courts within the past month, I think. He indicated that filings were up 3.6% for fiscal 2011 versus 2010. Our pending cases to filings ratio was 496, which they rated as excellent. Our disposition to filings or clearance ratio was 928, which he said was very good. Our months to disposition of civil traffic cases was 3 months, and he said anything under 4 months was excellent. And then this is an important on the financial. For fiscal year 2011, the average money that the court is bringing in per case, and that includes even people that go out on a warrant, we see zero from those, but the court is collecting 170 revenue per case. That's 45% more than Yavapai County average. I think that's pretty significant, and I think that speaks to how successful the diversion program and the efforts of my staff have been in collecting the fees that have been imposed. That's the main highlights. I think the rest of the package I sent to you is pretty explanatory, but if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Mr. Pratt?
I have a comment. I did read all those things you said. It kept me up burning the midnight oil. But, yeah, I think from everything I've seen, I think you're doing a great job. You've really been innovative. You've saved some money. And I've talked to attorneys, police officers, and unfortunately a few people who were up before you as violators. And I was especially impressed. They all said you were very fair and impartial. And the people I know that went in front of you who had violated the law in some way felt like you really treated them with respect and some empathy and really felt like you were fair.
Thank you.
I think you've been innovative. I think you've really worked with your staff very well. And if I had one, I guess I can give you a piece of advice, but I don't know if I'm qualified. I would just say relax, and when you do get some criticism from the board, treat it as a positive kind of thing, and they're just trying to make what is a very good court better. So I think you're doing a terrific job from what I've seen and read and talked to people.
Thank you.
We do have two members of the Justice Commission. We have Shiloh Hogard here with us and Mary Eichmann tonight. Do either of you care to share anything, or you have anything that you wish to share?
Madam Mayor, I came prepared to...
Could you come up to the lectern, please? Mr. Hogard.
I was asked to come to the meeting tonight. I came prepared to answer any questions or address any of the issues raised in our report, but if the council doesn't have anything to ask, then I think our report is fairly self-explanatory. I don't know that I have anything I would add or take away from it.
Mm-hmm. Any questions?
I thought it was complete.
We appreciate the work that you did. Normally, we wouldn't have you, ask for your help mid-year because it is a 2-year contract, but because we wanted to, as a council, consider the judge for merit pay as we do all other employees. That was the reason that we asked you to go ahead with the review in mid-contract. And we appreciate the time. I know you were very dedicated and spent a lot of time, so thank you.
And Madam Mayor, if I might,
yes, Mr. Horton.
Take the privilege. Mr. Hogard and the board did a very commendable job. They put a lot of time and effort into this, and really toiled over getting the whole process and the judge's review exactly right. And I think we owe them a debt of gratitude. Ms. Eichmann is welcome.
Thank you very much. And I too hear from the public that they're happy with the judge's demeanor in court, and so I would just like to say thank you that our public is treated respectfully and fairly. It sounds like you're very good at that.
Just so you know, too, Bobby Guzlin is who's on the judicial board. She's asked to volunteer, and we had gained permission for her to join us too, because we have one clerk that's going to be out for a month with surgery coming up. So it ends up being good that she's offered her assistance as well. And then we're going to try to get Diane Burke in for a period of time, too. Mm-hmm. She's the one that we don't have to pay anything to except for her travel costs. So, mm-hmm. So I think she'll come in and help during that time period as well as having Bobby there. So.
Okay. If there are no more questions or comments from the council, the next thing that we would need to discuss then would be merit pay. So do I have any comments or questions or suggestions on that?
Since I gave him a glory review, I would say I think he deserves the merit pay, yes.
Well, I think that we have been trying to do 5% for the employees that we hire. The exception was the city manager, whose salary is way below what other city managers in other cities, towns this size receive, and so we're just trying to make up some of that. Yes, Terrence?
Yeah, is that on the agenda, actually?
Isn't that the purpose of...
In the communication, I didn't see anything about that.
There's not, Mr. Paddock, a separate item for legal action, but I think, and I was consulting with the clerk about this a little earlier, I think it is subsumed in the agenda item for the executive session, so I think it would be permissible for the council to act tonight if it so chooses.
Right, because we would usually discuss this in executive session, and then we would come out and make a motion. Because
as a practice matter, we often put a separate legal action open session item on the agenda. It's not there tonight, but I checked the agenda language, and I think we're fine.
Okay, thank you.
So I would approve that. That's my thought.
Any other comments or suggestions for something different? No. Okay, so that's...
Could I offer a little bit of input?
Certainly.
My staff members, my court administrator and one of my clerks, that both have had their recent reevaluations, and they were at 6%. And I just asked the council to consider in fact, I'm a department head, and with some of the monetary good that I've been doing for the council, to consider something about that person. It's within your discretion. I accept humbly whatever you decide to grant.
I did receive some information from Iris, and was this passed on to the council, these sheets they were supposed to be, so I certainly apologize. Cottonwood, okay, our judge's salary is currently $89,250. And a 5% raise would add, if my calculations are correct, it would add $4,462.50 to the salary, which would make it $93,712.50. Do you think I have that right? Does that
sounds
sound right?
about right.
Okay. I did it on my little calculator. So he's going to be, and so the starting salary is $68,558, and the maximum, and how this works, the city manager may have to help me, but the maximum is $99,409. So right now he is toward the higher end of the range that you have your midpoint, your low point, and your high point. We don't have the compa ratio anymore, right?
Madam Mayor, Councilmember Sweet, we do still have the compa ratio system, and that's one of the things we're going to have the compensation consultants take a look at. But yeah, he's probably, I would assume, a little bit above mid-range.
Yeah, mid-range is 83, so he's about 10,000. He's probably a little bit closer to the high range than the mid. Some of the, I guess I'm looking here for towns of similar size. In Chino Valley, it's a $75,000 a year payment. Eloy, which is probably a little larger than us, is $72,750. Fountain Hills, which I'm guessing is a little bit larger than us, is $92,000. And Goodyear, which is a fairly good-sized city, is $140,000. In Guadalupe, they pay $1,365 every 2 weeks. In Kingman, which is a little bit larger than us, it's $83,485. Pinetop Lakeside is a part-time position, and that's $17,000 a year. Mesa, which is a huge city, is $150,000 a year. Nogales, which is larger, is about $90,000. So that kind of gives you an idea of some cities. There's more here. And again, I apologize. I thought I had forwarded this to you also.
Madam Mayor, Chino is a part-time. They have furloughs on Fridays.
Chino is part-time?
The only two full-time judges that are in Yavapai County is one of them, it's Prescott Valley. He's at $113,000 a year. And then you have Prescott Consolidated Court, where he's the highest paid judge in the whole state, because he gets his judicial salary of over $100,000 as a justice of the peace. Mm-hmm. Then he's in the same building during the same 40 hours. He gets $66,000 from Prescott, and he's also the tribe judge, and they give him over $40,000, so he makes over $200,000 a year is my understanding.
Wow, that's good.
So as far as full-time judges in Yavapai County, I'm like more
Is
than
Prescott
20,000 less than
Valley-
anybody else.
Is Prescott Valley a full-time judge?
Well, he's full-time at 113, but he also gets to be appointed as a justice of the peace pro tem at an extra 50 an hour for when he does side things during the week too. So he ends up getting to make even more than the 113. So
One thing about Prescott Valley, they have 39,000, I think, population, whereas we have almost 12. Are we 12 yet? 11, 12 something?
Yeah, 11 something. Close to 12.
Okay.
I think as far as, I'm sorry.
Yes,
as far as
Mr.
adjusting
Realty?
the salary to get it to where the market is right now, I think we're hoping to do that with our compensation study, which we'll be funding. But I think it's fair to give the judge what we're giving to the rest of the employees. I think it's absolutely reasonable.
So you would stick with 5%?
I would, yeah.
Counsel?
I think that's fair compensation.
That's what we're giving everybody else, yeah.
Because I think we've already done Steve's and Mary Ann's, and that's, I think, what we did with you guys, right? Okay. So that's what we've done other than the city manager. Yes.
Well, the city manager, he didn't take his the full increase we gave him the year prior. Isn't that correct?
That's correct. He took only half.
Took half of it, so he's trying to play catch up.
It's going to take a long time to catch up with that one. So, okay. So do I hear a motion? I would make a motion to approve the review that our Justice Commission provided us and to adjust for merit pay. That's not cost of living, it's merit. Merit pay a 5% increase in salary. So the mayor made the motion and Mr. Pratt seconded it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Okay, back to the claims and adjustments. Do I hear a motion to pay the claims?
I move we pay the claims and adjustments.
Second.
Okay, Councilmember Norman made the motion and Mr. Elinsky second. Was it Elinsky or Dowling? Okay. You two are using the same voice tonight.
Yep, that's right.
And Mr. Elinsky seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. I move to adjourn. The mayor made the motion. The vice mayor seconded it. All in favor? Aye. We're adjourned.